It's Monday, everybody, and we are kicking things off with a lot of SEC football news on this Monday. Welcome in Simone, Eli, Gerhard, Mathangani, joining you from our studio in Mobile, Southeast Sports Plus. Gerhard, a lot going on, a jam-packed show for this Monday. We're going to talk to Hugh Freeze here in just a little while. Drew Fabianich, the new executive director of the Senior Bowl. Our guy Roger Wallace from KXAN. Going to be a jam-packed show, but we're going to begin with some news out of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, you used the word jam earlier. Jam Miller, running back from Alabama. He was expected to carry the load this year. You might remember just on Friday, we talked to Ian Kress, and he talked about how Justice Hayes is one of the big guys in the running back room. He used to be in Tuscaloosa. He's not there anymore. Jam Miller was expected to get the bulk of the reps this year. He did so in practice, but unfortunately, Simone, on Saturday, injured his collarbone. Alabama's calling it an upper body injury, so they're keeping it very generic, but boots on the ground they're saying it's a collarbone injury. So we don't know if he broke it, fractured it, but the hope that he's back by late September, ideally for that Georgia matchup, which is huge. So if they're hopeful for that, you kind of have to do some reverse engineering to see what he did. I think it's either a fracture or a broken collarbone is the word out right now.
Yeah, I read that he did have a procedure on that. And so Kalen DeBoer and company going to be without their starting running back, Jam Miller. It is a suffer a collarbone injury on Saturday during their scrimmage, out indefinitely. And when you look at this, I mean, I know that right now projections, when you look at betting odds and things like that, has Alabama a heavy favorite in several of the first games of the season. Yeah. And then you look at that Georgia game when things get real, really fast, and you're hopeful that a guy like Jam Miller is back. I think one of the things that Kalen DeBoer and company really enjoy and like about Jam Miller is his ability and what he does in pass protection.
Yeah.
So you can't just think about who is toting the rock, but also who is protecting a very valuable QB1.
Yeah, and I think when you have a guy like Jam Miller, a guy that you expect to carry most of the load, it hurts a little bit more because all the other guys in practice are now getting more reps. So it's kind of like, hey, it's a good thing in the sense that those guys are getting more reps, but it's not a good thing because you do want to have your healthiest horses available, everybody available for that big matchup against Georgia. Of course, that is down the road, and that's no disrespect to Florida State. I just think a lot of Alabama fans think that they can win that game with or without Jam Miller. But as you get deeper into the SEC, you're going to need that powerful running game.
Yeah, no question about that. So this is a pivotal year too for Kalen DeBoer. I think we know that he did well in the recruit your own roster game, and that we did well in the actual recruiting game. And so right now, this is kind of the first off-season hiccup, so to speak. This is the first, I think people are wondering, okay, this is, you don't want bad news. You want everyone to stay healthy going into the season, of course. And so if it comes this late, it's typically something by way of an injury, of course, stemming from the scrimmage. So that is the latest out of Tuscaloosa. We will have much more from Kalen DeBoer here in just a moment. I want to take a look at what we got the rundown for today's show. Patrick, like we mentioned, Jam Miller is going to be out. SEC teams all across the Southeastern Conference wrapping up their second week of preseason camp, Gerhard, second scrimmage as well. And listen, man, this is when they start to turn the burner up a little bit when it comes to game prep and things like that. Tennessee finally ended up starting quarterback. Yeah. And what's going on in the NFL?
I think this is really interesting, Simone, because this part of spring camp is kind of a catch-22 because you have to increase the intensity, but also increases your chances of having players injured. And that's what we've seen so far in the early stages of camp. It was funny going back to the Tennessee thing. It was funny talking both to Casey K and Sam Rothman. They made it sound like that Josh Heupel would not name a quarterback until maybe right before game day. And the fact that he got it done 1 week after Alabama's got their done. And I think it's kind of similar situations where there was expected QB1 in-house there. Everybody expected it to be one, but one Monday we get one answer, the next Monday we get another answer there. So it's really interesting. But this is that part of camp where teams and players start to separate themselves from the guys that are going to be playing. Good point. But then also at the same time, because the intensity ratchets up, you get the injuries as a possibility as well.
Yeah, good point. And when you think about the backfield and a new starting quarterback there in Tuscaloosa, of course, Ty Simpson recently named the starter there for Alabama, kind of the easy choice because he is the guy that returns with experience. He's not rolling with kind of a newcomer. But when you have a kind of a late preseason change, meaning change in the backfield.
Right.
Do you worry a little bit, Gerhard, that will this impact a quarterback who will be going into game prep now with someone in the backfield who has not been the guy who he's been working with for several weeks?
I think you do, because they always say, you know, quarterback's best friend is a good running game.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a strong offensive line and a good running game. You made a great point about the way he helps in pass protection as well. You just don't have that safety net in the back of your mind thinking, hey, if they bring more than we can block, my running back's there to help me out and give me that extra second and a half, that 2 seconds to get the ball out of there. So maybe it creeps into the back of his mind, but maybe the quote-unquote good thing is that, number one, it doesn't look like it's going to keep him out for a very long time, and two, you get to develop another guy with a couple of weeks left. Now, if it's happened, you know, the Saturday before kickoff, that'd be one thing, but there are a couple of weeks there to get some of these guys on there. And just taking a look at Alabama's depth chart going into that first game, it looks like Richard Young is the second guy on the depth chart, Daniel Hill is the third guy on the depth chart, and Dre Washington the third. So all of these guys will be able to get some reps and opportunities in practice to show they are the guy to help fill in for those shoes.
Yeah, no doubt. We had the chance to hear from Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer following the Tide's second scrimmage of the preseason. Let's take a listen to that.
Yeah, good scrimmage. Got some good heat out there. That was probably one of the best things we got out of it today. It was one of the warmer days, and saw that all week brewing, and so took advantage of it. It's been actually too nice on campus, especially in the morning. But good day that way, and you know, it's gonna be 2 weeks from today at this time we'll be playing. So talk to the guys about that a little bit, but probably a lot like the first scrimmage. Offense did some nice things early. Has to do a better job of sustaining it, and the defense doing a good job of responding. That's really general, but that's kind of how the scrimmage went. So got a lot of red zone work in at the end. Just, you know, slowly building up, and got some reps on that. Tuesdays and Thursdays practice was really good from some live action. So from Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, and again today, we've got a lot of tackling in, a lot of work, full pads, and so I like just kind of the stamina we've had that way, and just how much tackling we've had. So.
Good stuff there from Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer. Of course, that was the same day that Jam Miller was injured. But overall, seems as though there's an optimistic tone. That's one thing that I always like to kind of get a read on when it comes to coaches. Something I'm going to ask Coach Freeze about here in the next couple of minutes, because sometimes, you know, you wonder if coaches are tempering their expectations, and that's why they maybe sound a little less than stellar on things, or are they overly excited? I think that Kalen DeBoer sounds confident in where he is right now when it comes to what things look like going into 2 weeks.
I feel like as you're a coach, and especially in these situations, you almost have to play psychologist a little bit. And if you panic even a little bit into the media, it kind of gives your team that ripple effect of, hey, are we going to be okay offensively? And I think that his demeanor overall has always been, hey, you know, we deal with injuries. Injuries are part of the game. You know, however, let us find another guy to step up, because you can see it as a problem or you can see it as an opportunity, and that's what they're going to challenge these running backs with is an opportunity. Because even for a guy like Jam Miller, yes, he was the guy this year, but the last few years he was the guy getting 30 carries for the season, 40 carries for the season. It wasn't until last year that he got more than 100. So at one point he was the guy having to prove himself. So it could be to the message to the guys that are below him, hey, go be the next Jam Miller. Go be the guy that did not get a lot of carries in the past, did not get a lot of action in the past, but now called upon to be the man.
Yeah, no question about that. The preseason All-America team by the AP was released today. Of course, as we know, Alabama ranked 8th in the AP, and Gerhard, the Tide players getting first-team recognition. Caden Proctor, of course, a guy who's had some interesting headlines there at Alabama, but ultimately is a first team, should be a first team all AP selection there. Ryan Williams, second team. There is another offensive lineman. G, do you have the list in front of you?
I do. I have that. The first team is broken up to first team and second team. I'll go on offense first, but as you mentioned, yes, Caden Proctor is there on that first team. On the receivers, it is Ryan Williams there with Jeremiah Smith and Jordan Tyson, three phenomenal guys offensively. The first team defense out of the SEC does include Dylan Stewart, who we heard Mariah Ross talk last week about just how special he's going to be coming into this season. And then on the second team offense, we have Parker Brailsford, the center for Alabama, also on the Outland Trophy watch list as well. Cam Coleman, a receiver for the Auburn Tigers, he's also listed there on the second team for the offense. the second team for the defense, Alabama's Tim Keenan, who we saw at SEC Media Days just a few weeks ago there in Atlanta. He's on that list as well. Those are the guys that stand out as of right now. Of course, there's a ton of players from the SEC, but those are the guys that are standing out on the first, second team.
One thing that stands out to me is that when you have questions up front on the offensive line, or especially going into the season, anytime in the season, but especially in preseason, you never know what it's going to look like. When you have two guys who are AP All-America selections, especially a guy at center, and then of course a guy like Hayden Proctor, you're feeling pretty good about what the team chemistry is going to be like of those five guys up front. It matters. It matters a lot. I feel like I've just watched enough college football. I've watched enough preseason practices, had enough preseason conversations where it might not be where the fans always have their eyes, but it's always where coaches have their eyes.
Yeah, and I think the offensive line, they take credit. They take a lot of pride in, hey, it doesn't matter who's back there. We're going to dominate this offensive line. We'll create holes. We will make this thing work for whoever is the running back for us going into this football season. And I think it's really interesting. It's an interesting dynamic for Alabama because I know they'll obviously rely on Ty Simpson's arm this year. But I think that this also proves to them that offensive line, hey, can you do both? Can you be flexible with both? If we have to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game, can we do that as well? Another small thing I find interesting here, Simone, is the quarterbacks that are listed. Cade Klubnik, for another preseason All-American team. He is the first team quarterback. Garrett Nussmeier is second. I've never seen a situation with like Texas this year where Steve Sarkisian, he has more things to motivate his guys going into the year as the number one ranked team. They're an underdog in their first matchup, and their quarterback is not first or second team preseason All AP. Now I know most of this going on last year's stats, which he wouldn't qualify for it, but this is just another example where Sark could be like, "Hey guys, you're not first team." I walk into that quarterback room today, and I tell Arch that, hey, like they think two quarterbacks are better than you in this entire country.
And one thing I do feel like, Steve Sarkisian has a pretty healthy relationship with the seriousness of any sort of preseason rankings.
No doubt.
I think that a lot of coaches do, but definitely veteran guys who say, okay, let's keep everything in perspective. It means nothing. Where you're at the end of the year certainly means a lot more. And so it will be interesting to talk to Roger Wallace. We have a great list of guests coming up on the show here in just a little bit. Like I mentioned, Hugh is going to join us to talk all things Auburn football, where the team is at right now after 2 weeks of fall camp, preseason practice, and their second scrimmage of the day. Roger Wallace, the sports director over at KXAN, our affiliate there in Austin, going to break all the things down with the Texas Longhorns, number one ranked team unanimously going into 2025. And then our friend Drew Fabianich from the Senior Bowl, the new executive director of the Senior Bowl, the Panini Senior Bowl.
That's right.
A lot of exciting times. There's a watch list. I'm not sure how much we're allowed to disclose of what it is that they're going to disclose, but you can guarantee there's going to be a lot of SEC players on the watch list for the 2026 Senior Bowl.
Just like every single year, there's a lot of players that the SEC that Drew Fabianich and his scouts will be watching throughout the course of the season. Yeah, we'll see what we can find out from Drew as far as some of those guys maybe on that list. I think we can deduce a few just based on what we know about the talent coming back this year in this league.
No question. We're going to take a quick break here. It's been an exciting first few minutes here on the show. The latest from Tuscaloosa. Jam Miller, the Tide's starting running back, is going to be out to start the season, and we will have much more from around the SEC coming up next on Southeast Sports Plus. Stay with us. Welcome back in Southeast Sports Plus. Simone, Patrick, Gerhard joining you from our studio here in Mobile. And very excited to be chatting with a good friend of the show, the one and only Auburn head football coach, Hugh Freeze. Coach Freeze, welcome in. Good afternoon. How are things on the plains today, sir?
Guys, good to see you guys as always. Thanks for having me. And we're excited. We're expectant and been pleased with the effort, passion, energy of camp, and really ready to get into a routine to get ready for a very difficult opener, one that should excite. I think all college football fans. Should be a really good test for both teams to open the season, and looking forward. We started this week getting kind of into that routine.
Coach, when you think about a Friday kickoff, a little bit different than what we kind of would expect in the state of Texas or in Alabama, but a lot of eyes will be on that game there at Baylor. Just how does that kind of change the preparation for this Week 1 game as you guys gear up for the Bears?
Yeah, it definitely changes. We've decided to go 2 weeks of the routine that we will have next week. So it started really yesterday, with Sunday being a Monday and today being a Tuesday and tomorrow being a Wednesday and so forth. So it is a little bit different. The good thing is we have 2 weeks to go through that routine and model what the week will look like. And I think today's probably the hardest day because it's really a Tuesday practice, which is usually a little longer, and Mondays are a day here where our classes start a little earlier, so it made for a very early morning and a little crunch on time to get that in. But I think it'll be worth it as we get into the game week, and our kids have had really 2 weeks to kind of experience what the exact routine will be like, absence the air travel.
No question. Coach, I know you get this question from people like us in the media from anytime that you go anywhere, maybe to church or wherever, you get the question about your quarterback. And I have to ask you specifically about his development in in fall camp practices, and then some of the ways that you and him have been able to create a synergy with one another. I heard a funny story that you got a little upset at the end of last week's practice.
The thrown visor.
which also lets me know that you're comfortable enough with him to show that side of yourself. Just talk about the way that he's progressed over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, I've had some pretty good quarterbacks that put up good numbers, and I think I always say he's thrown his visor many times right at me, and so I think that's probably a good sign that they can handle it. And I definitely think Jackson is mature enough to know I'm for him. I'm in his corner. I believe in him strongly, and yet give me the freedom kind of to be myself too. From time to time, and I try not to overdo that every now and then, and certainly I have to come in and first look at us as coaches to see, all right, tell me how we exactly coach this, and I do think that I have a gift to, like, if I'm wrong, I'll walk in front of the quarterback room or receiver room or entire team and say, hey, I was totally wrong, and I did. After watching film, we did not coach this properly, or I saw something differently than what the film does not lie, and so I think that gains a level of trust and transparency with Jackson or Deuce or Ashton or other positions that say, hey, the man's real. And I do that every Monday after games, really, with the truth is in the course of a game, offensively especially, you don't want to have a high percentage of plays that you called and then you watch the film and schematically had zero chance of working. If there's more than 2 or 3 of those in a game, we've called a really, really bad game. It gets easier. We call a lot of bad ones right now in practice because you're not really scheming for your defense, and they got something new in every day, and you hadn't had time to really teach against it. But that should change as you get into the season. I'm sure game 1 you'll have a few surprises that they'll have that maybe you didn't see toward the end of last year, but I think Jackson is he knows me well enough now to know him for him, and that I also get a little upset every now and then, and I think he's strong enough to take it.
For the record, Coach, I thought it was pretty mild. I mean, people definitely they clearly people have never been coached hard in their life, because that was like.
I was kind of shocked it was a story, really.
Listen,
I want to say, do y'all go to many practices?
Right. People have clearly never played college sports, because that was so mild compared to what I don't know. Maybe me against my dad. Played for my dad, and then you play college sports, and you see a lot, you hear a lot, and I gave that like a 2 out of 10. So, but listen, we got to have something exciting to talk about in the preseason, Coach. And so moments like that, they're fiery, and we love Rosie. Yeah. She does a great job. As a reporter who, of course, took that video and asked you the follow up. But Coach, I know you spoke a little bit ago, and one of the things you mentioned that in preseason practice, you kind of have to balance good things that the defense is doing with, is this a weakness in what we're doing offensively? Are they just so aware and comfortable of what's happening with the offense because they played against each other all offseason? How are you balancing that right now? Where do you feel like it is maybe in relation to previous years, not only at Auburn, but of course you've had plenty of success throughout your career. Where is the team at right now in terms of your concern with that?
That is a incredible question, and I don't know the true answer. I said this morning in the press conference, just based off of film, you would feel like, all right, we've got to learn. There's no question we've improved in the run game in the RPO world. When it comes to the drop back pass game, it seems like we're getting some pressure on us pretty quick. Does that mean our edges are great and we're not using proper technique? Because I really believe in our tackles too, and I think they're two of the better ones we've had. And it's a fine balancing act, because listen, we've been going against them since February, and they 100% know when we're
pass run, what's going on. Absolutely.
And the guys are right up the field and lining up like an 11 technique out there somewhere. and so it's really hard to balance. And it's like I tell our offensive coaches and our guys all along that this hopefully is as hard as it gets. Not that, I mean, it's going to be difficult in this league and against teams like Baylor, who are really well coached on defense, to do well, but you sure hope they don't know every single time that you're going to pass, get the jet rush on you, and so that is a hard thing to kind of judge. And the other thing to add to that is, we've had SEC officials twice when we're trying to do some drives, and the darn whistle gets blowed every time somebody gets close to your quarterback, and
probably for a good reason. Probably the safe bet. Yeah,
it is. But then you watch the film, and your coaches are like, no way he got out of that, and we're fixing to have an explosive play because this receiver just broke his route off and is wide open. And
I mean, they're danged if they do, they're danged if they don't. Yep. I mean, listen, because if they don't blow it fast enough and your guy gets hit, these guys are going to be fired in a heartbeat. Poor officials, man. Y'all just can't give these guys a break.
They're not going to hit him, and then they've been good, but that whistle does get blown. And not to even mention, you don't really know. I know from watching tape that Jackson has the ability to run the football.
Sure.
For 100% know, just go put on Ashton Daniels tape, against Notre Dame and Clemson and others, and watch him run the football. And Deuce certainly has the athleticism to do that too. But you're not calling any of that right now.
Yeah, true.
You practice it in walkthroughs and all of that, but as soon as you call that in a scrimmage or something, the whistle blows, and you're in 2nd and 10.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to know, did he get a dirty 4 yards and keep us ahead of the chains? So all of that's very hard to manage, to know exactly what reality is, and you really won't know that until we open up and it goes live for real.
Coach, you have a special talent of being able to develop wide receivers. Think of a guy like A.J. Brown back in the day, and you had several players there at Ole Miss. The AP All-America team just came out. On the second team offense is Cam Coleman. Just how special is he, and how has he developed over the last few years. And then a guy that we know here really well, Perry Thompson. I know he's another one of the talented players in that class. Talk a little bit about that receiver room and specifically Coleman.
Yeah, we've been blessed through the years. Obviously, people talk about the ones at Ole Miss, whether it was AJ or DK or Laquan or Dante Moncrief or Evan Ingram or Van Jefferson. All those guys are still doing really well. Even at Liberty, we had Antonio Gandy-Golden and Demario Douglas, who is starting now for the Patriots. And so we've been blessed to develop some really good receivers. And I think this group is on par with those. We're still really young because people thought you asked the question, the development of Cam Coleman. People forget he's just a sophomore. We're still in the developmental phase, but there's been really pleased with how he's progressed from year one and year two, as I have been with Malcolm. There were times, I know, quarterbacks take the blame all the time with head coaches, but there were times last year we had some plays there and a freshman wide receiver is just in the wrong spot or the wrong depth, and all of that factors into it. And now taking a step into year two with the Perry Thompsons, Malcolm Simmons, Bryce, Cam, you hope that that's not the case. At least it's minimized by the job we do as coaches. But Cam's a special talent, as is Perry. Perry's been hurt for the last probably 8 days, so that's slowed his progression down, but he looked better today. I think he's getting close to being back. And then you add Eric Singleton and Horatio Fields to that group. It's a room that we feel like has to have success for us to win.
Coach, it was announced last week that Bo Jackson will be honored during the Iron Bowl. It was announced today that Cam Newton will have his number retired. Two guys who are, really part of the fabric of what makes Auburn football so special. How great is that that's happening this season? And just what type of special talents? I mean, I feel like that's putting it very, very lightly. But what type of players were they from a perspective of, hey, you're the current head football coach at Auburn now, and just what they meant to this program?
Yeah, I thought got to visit with him this week. He came to practice, and it was good. It wasn't public, but I knew it was happening, so it was really good to congratulate him. I mean, gosh, he's a phenomenal talent, number one, but what he meant to this program to take them to the national championship and win it was pretty stinking phenomenal, and it's a level we want to return to. And it was good for our quarterbacks to visit with him and talk to him about leadership and how to handle adversity and those things, because he obviously has done it, and just a special talent. And then obviously Bo, it's hard to probably pick 10 players in the college game in recent times. I'm not talking about going back to Thorpe and in those days, but in recent college football, it'd be hard to pick a top 10 without both of those guys in it, I would think. So they're phenomenal talents. So it's good that we can honor them this year.
Coach, I want to ask you quick some news that came out of the press conference from today. Antonio Coleman, a guy who is for local here, you mentioned, I think, today that he's going to be suspended indefinitely. Any information on the Saraland alum there?
Yeah, I love our players and love Antonio, and we've got a couple that, when they go against team rules, there has to be consequences. This is real life, and I don't think I do them a justice to just say, it's okay. I mean, there's sometimes I think that I always try to lean toward grace for our players within reason. But at some point, you have to look at them as young men and say, this is a real job.
Yep. And
there are expectations that come with this job. We are now in a revenue sharing model that requires you to do a job, or there should be consequences to it, or I'm not teaching real life. Now, I'll walk with you through it, but here's some terms, and he'll have every opportunity and right to return to us, provided he meets, what I've set forward with the expectations of rejoining us.
Yeah, Coach, appreciate the comment there, and know that it's a difficult decision to make, but sometimes one that has to be made to teach life lessons. Peel back the curtain a little bit on what the rest of your day looks like. I know that you guys are it's a busy time right now. Is game prep officially underway at the moment? We talked about that a little bit off the top, but do you start to actually watch Baylor film? Is that happening? Is that taking place there in the office?
Yeah, we just watched morning practice, and I just stepped in here to do this, and they're watching Baylor currently right now, and we'll try to have the final plan in by today's. I get my days. Today's Monday, which is really a Tuesday, but I hope by Thursday of this week it's complete, and we have a couple extra days really to hone in, particularly on those critical downs. Those third downs and those red zone opportunities and goal line areas. Hope we get a couple more shots than you do on a normal week, so that we can be really excellent and confident in the plans that we have. So yeah, they're in there watching, and I'm gonna finish this interview and go get a haircut.
Nice.
And hadn't had one since camp started, and then we'll be back in there with them tonight we've got a plan to try to finish up watching all third down today.
Okay, well, Coach, listen, just throw a hat on. Nobody will tell,
Yeah.
and just the cameras are practice.
I will, but the longer it gets, it starts to curl up and look kind of ragged.
I love that, Coach. Really, really appreciate your time. We will let you get to watching film on Baylor. And one last thing I want to mention is that when we see about 8-9+ wins this season, we're all going to take to the golf course at the end of this year to celebrate that. When you come down here to the golf course, we've got plenty of great courses down here. Gerhard, Patrick, me, we're gonna a great foursome. We'll have a good time.
Well, I love it. Just prepare to be talked about. If you see me on the golf course with you, they'll say you're playing too much golf.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, I'll take that spotlight. We'll have a good time either way. We have poke fun at the very. Hey, appreciate it, Coach Hugh Freeze, head coach at Auburn. Appreciate your time from the Plains, sir.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Good stuff.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, great stuff there from Coach Freeze, man. Listen, it was only a couple weeks ago in Atlanta. We were helping him pick what shoes he was going to wear there at SEC Media Days, and so we appreciate everything that he provides us here at Mobile.
There was a we about this. You helped him pick those shoes,
okay,
and he went with it. He went with it too.
Yeah.
I think it's his first time ever. The other shoes that he had on, the brown shoes, he said I think he's had them for like more than a decade.
Yeah.
And you were like, you and his daughter were like, hey,
man,
you got to go with the Nikes.
Put the loafers back in the bag,
you gotta
my
go
guy.
With the Nikes.
Yeah.
And hopefully that broke a trend.
Yes.
And hopefully it starts something special for the season.
If you're going to be a Nike school, you might as well take advantage of being
Go
a
all
Nike
out.
school. Because
Go
nowadays it's totally acceptable to wear a suit with Nikes, no question. Appreciate Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze joining Southeast Sports Plus today. Plenty of excitement there and some hopeful fans on the Plains looking for success there in year 3 for Coach Freeze. And we are looking forward to what is up ahead here on Southeast Sports Plus. We're going to check in with a very good friend in Austin, Texas. Our guy Roger Wallace is back this week to talk all things the Texas Longhorns gearing up for that big blockbuster Week 1 game against Ohio State. A 1-2 matchup. We'll have that preview and much more from Austin after the break. Stay with us. Rolling right along here on Southeast Sports Plus. Simone Eli, Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh joining you, and we will welcome in a good friend of the show. Last week, we had great input from our friend Noah Gross over there in KXAM, but let me just tell you, we have quite the crew in Austin because Roger Wallace, who has become a staple on this program, is back with us this week. Roger, you look a little bit tanner. Were you? I know you're on vacation, but I also know that it's really warm there. How was your extended time off there? Well deserved going into the season.
It was nice. Thanks. Good. And it was good to have one little last getaway before we get after it. And really today is the start of non-training camp for Texas. Sark said it ended on Saturday with the scrimmage. They're not in game week mode yet. They're kind of in that in-between space.
Okay, what does that in-between space kind of look like? I know we just talked to Auburn head coach Hugh. He was hanging up with us to go back to watching Baylor film, and so you got to imagine that at some point they will kind of turn their attention on the number 2 ranked team in the country over there in Austin.
Yeah, for sure. I think they're doing it slowly. Maybe the coaches more so than the players because he talked today about, they're still developing and they still are building. But certainly now you're 2 weeks out, and I'm not sure if we have the sound, but he can explain it better than I, kind of how they handle this next week during training camp.
Yeah, Patrick says that we have that. Going to take just a minute to pull that up. So let's take a listen in to Steve Sarkisian, and we'll get reaction to that.
All in all, we're making good progress. I thought the guys came back today with the right mental intensity to work. This is obviously a mock week for us, so this is a kind of a pseudo Monday. It's not all Ohio State. We're still developing a lot of players, but at the same token, we're in the very beginning stages of what a game plan would look like, so that these guys can get a sense and a feel for their routine, the way they prepare, and the way they study. So off to a good start.
So Coach sounds pretty optimistic, sounds pretty positive about the overall start. Do you think that it ratchets it up a little bit more because news just out moments ago that Ohio State now named their starting quarterback in Julian Sayin? I find really interesting this matchup between these two quarterbacks, really hyped coming out of high school, both Arch Manning and Julian Sayin. Now do you think that the defense for Texas can now hone in a little bit more? Obviously there's not much film to break because he hasn't break down because he hasn't played all that much, but do you think the defensive side gets a little bit clearer on what that game plan will look like in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, Sark was asked, have they been planning for him all along? He says, I'm not going to tip my hand on what we've been planning for and all that. My guess is they have been. He said he recruited him heavily. He's a Southern California guy. We know Sark hit Southern California hard, and so he knows Julian Sayin's track record. Of course, he was committed and actually enrolled at Alabama, and then Nick Saban retired, so off to Ohio State. I think they've had a pretty good sense that this would be the guy, and their defense, they feel pretty good about whoever their defense is going up against because, as you said, there's no college tape to base it on anyway.
Absolutely. As we break down the offense and what the offense looked like, I know that a couple of weeks ago we talked about how there's some injuries, or there was one main injury along that offensive line. Any other injuries to report? Maybe even a slight nag. Alabama just lost their top running back because of a collarbone injury. Are there anything that, as far as the injury list, that will hamper anybody that is expected to be a key playmaker or a key contributor in that game against Ohio State?
Not in the game. Trevor Gooseby, their left tackle, is probably going to miss a couple of days of practice. He got nicked up a little bit in the scrimmage, according to Sark, so didn't seem overly concerned about that. But I think they're in pretty good shape as far as you were referring to Andre Kojo, the offensive lineman who was lost for the season a couple of weeks ago. Other than that, they've been pretty healthy. I'm sure there's some bumps and bruises that he won't even address until it's time to put out that first report, and they don't have to do it for a non-conference game. So, but yeah, I think they're pretty healthy for the most part.
What information have we gotten out of Texas following that second scrimmage? Anything particular, anything of note that it stuck out to you, I guess, seeing them in a real live action, or at least so much so as college football scrimmages are, that is?
You know I'm going to tell you this, Simone, right? I'm going to tell you through the lens of Sark and what he tells us. Nice try, though.
I know. I tried to slip it in. I tried to do it. Listen, I know. Fail again, yet again.
It was solid. It was subtle and solid.
It was solid. I tried.
I think, and what I think I can say clearly is they looked sharper and just a little more buttoned up, and he said that. as well. He felt like there was a little bit more urgency. I think he liked the way the offense performed a little bit better, talking about the defense typically is ahead of the offense. I mean, this is a defense that, as of today, 3 first-team AP All-Americans. So, it's a defense that's going to be ahead of a lot of offenses, no matter what time of year. But I think he just liked the fact that it was a little bit crisper. And like I said, he talked about Gooseby missing some snaps, but if they had to play a game, he'd be ready to go. But again, so much of that is hold your breath, right? Because of just what we talked about. They got to let them play. They got to let them hit. They got to let them tackle to the ground. And then they hope that they don't suffer anything along the way that will affect them negatively. So I think they got through that, and now they, as he said, we'll sprinkle in a little bit of Ohio State here and there. For the coaches, I'm sure it's a little more urgent, and go through kind of that week of what a game week looks like. Saturday, they'll have a dress rehearsal scrimmage where it won't be really about on the field as much as going through everything they do pregame, including walking down what in Austin it's Bevo Boulevard and the way they enter the stadium, and just kind of getting that dress rehearsal. And then they won't really scrimmage like they have the last 2 Saturdays, because now we're less than a week out.
Yeah, Gerhard mentioned a minute ago that there was some people he kind of thought, at least from the quarterback perspective, that were noticeably missing from the AP preseason All-America team. And does a guy who has played in limited time, deserve to be? I guess a preseason All-America was kind of the question that you posed here.
Right.
There.
Essentially, it's kind of like what Nick Saban used to do. Whenever you did not praise his team, it would be like, hey, these guys don't believe in you. And whenever you did praise his team, it's rat poison.
Yes.
So, and then I think in this situation, Arch can be like, hey, if he does get love on the first or second team, it's like, well, what have I done?
Yeah.
I haven't been here before. Sure. But if he doesn't, he could weirdly use that as a psychological, hey, I want to go out there and show that I am better than Cade Klubnik. I'm better than Garrett Nussmeier and some of the others. How do you think that he personally balances that, and some of the ways that the team is as well, from the guys that aren't on that list and the guys that are?
I think he's just fine with it. I think Sark's just fine with it. The irony here is that Cade Klubnik is an Austin kid from Westlake High School who came back home to play Texas and lost in the first round of the playoff. Sark speaks glowingly of Cade Klubnik. He's done it. He's led his team to a playoff. Garrett Nussmeier obviously has done a lot at LSU, and we've talked about it. Arch Manning's thrown 90 passes all at home. So it stands to reason that if he's going to use it for fuel, if Sark and quarterback coach A.J. Milwie's going to, kind of prod him on that, that's fine. But I think that was a pretty accurate list of guys that have done it and done it at a high level, compared to a guy that they project to do it and do it at a high level more than he has.
Roger, just not even in the last hour and a half or so, news broke that Texas Athletic Director Chris Del Conte is going to receive a 6-year contract. I think he's getting about a 20% raise. And sometimes, actually very often, when people in positions of athletic power, there's a lot of negativity when it comes to like feedback, and people are saying, oh, they don't deserve this. It is the exact opposite, seems, across the board for this pay raise that will go up to nearly $3 million in 2026. A lot of people saying, hey, this is a guy who's done a lot of things for Texas. What is the vibe there, and what is the latest that you know?
I think that's it, Simone. I think that pay him his money because of what they've done. Not only success, game day atmosphere. They continue to add to the game day atmosphere. They opened up Moody Center, the new basketball arena. Yep. They're improving the baseball stadium, and he's made home run hires at every turn, really starting with Vic Schaefer. And then obviously now with Sean Miller coming in from Xavier, he had no choice but to name Rodney Terry the head coach after the Chris Beard incident. But it just didn't work out, and he went out and got Sean Miller, got Jim Schlossnagle, his good friend. And so all those things add up to the fact that, and now, we're so transparent with money now because of the whole paying the athletes. So, hey, if he's going to make the money, that means they're taking it from somewhere, right? And they've got to pay all those athletes too. So if they've got the money, it's coming from somewhere. And he's got a title along with that AD. It's an endowed position. And so, I think the final year he'll be pushing close to $5 million. And I don't think there's anybody that would argue, because if things take a turn, you know who's out there. So success right now is in just about every sport at some level. And if things turn, then that 6-year deal doesn't mean as much. But I don't think anybody has a problem with it. And where's he going to go? He's at University of Texas, and right now the highest valued athletic department in the country. If you put any stock into that,
exactly. That's there's no question about that. Yeah.
But all that said, 2 Final Fours is not an appearance in a championship game. It's not a national championship really at any level other than rowing and swimming and softball. So, he understands they want to see more banners too.
No question.
Once he starts calling the offense, I feel like they can probably hold him more accountable for that too.
You mentioned A.J. Milwee a moment ago, the quarterback's coach there. We got a chance to talk to K.J. Lacey, he's a quarterback here at Saraland High School, won the Mr. Football Award. He said that A.J. Milwee was one of the reasons why he chose Texas. He chose Texas a long time ago, even though he kept getting recruited. He said that Milwee and Sark were really, really tight. Obviously, everybody knows Sark from his time in the NFL to Alabama to now at Texas, but it feels like Milwee might be like almost that engine behind the machine there offensively. For those that do not know Coach Milwee, what are some of the things that make him so special and such a great recruiter and developer?
Well, it's interesting because obviously Sark is considered a quarterback guru, but he's got so many other responsibilities that, A.J. Milwee is the guy with Arch Manning at every moment in practice in the meeting room. Sark just can't be that guy, but Milwee certainly learned a lot along the way from Sark. He's really tough on him. Arch Manning joked about, he doesn't hand out many compliments. He's really tough. And so I think he's an extension of Sark. I think through time, he's obviously gained his own set of tools and his knowledge, and they work together so well. But yeah, you would think at some point, guys, he might get his shot to whatever the next level is for him, whether it's a coordinator position or a head coaching position or, moving on to professional football. Don't know, but he's one of the guys that's been with Sark every step of the way, and it seemed to work out pretty well, not just because good quarterback play, but good quarterback development.
Coach, goodness, I've been talking to coaches all morning. You're pretty much like a coach, Roger, even though you won't give us any breakdown of practice, which you actually see.
Been called worse.
You know what? We'll call you Coach Wallace. You just won't give us any, behind-the-scenes information about practice and what it is that you can see as an announcer there on the Longhorn Network. Roger, tell me something. We were talking to Noah last week, and he said something that I thought was notable. We were talking about Ohio State and Texas, and he said that he's from Ohio. And he said anyone who's from Ohio or has connections to Ohio grows up an Ohio State fan, to which I literally have my hands like crossed at that moment because I'm ready to just go at him. And I said, that is not true. I am from Ohio, and in fact, because of what you just mentioned, I did not like Ohio State. I was going to go against the grain, and I grew up a Notre Dame fan, to which he told me, you and Roger, which I already knew, are going to be besties because he's also from Ohio, and he also is a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, I'm from outside of Cincinnati, and that's Notre Dame country.
Yeah.
And I grew up. My oldest brother went to Notre Dame. Nice. I went to basketball camp there. I couldn't get in, but I knew that from the start that I wasn't going to get in.
Yeah.
But yeah, big Joe Montana fan, and even before that, a guy named Tom Clements who led him to a national title over Alabama.
Yep.
On New Year's Eve in the Sugar Bowl. But yeah, and I was not a big Ohio State fan. I was not a Woody Hayes fan. So Noah's wrong.
Yeah, see, that's what I told Noah too. And so he also mentioned that he will be back there in Austin during the game and holding it down in Austin during the big one between number 1 versus 2. We're looking forward to that game. But at some point, it's going to be all 4 of us on this show, and we're just going to have a little roundtable discussion about fandom, about the state of Ohio, and what Notre Dame football really, really means.
I'm sure it really kind of mirrors here in Alabama. Alabama, you choose Alabama or Auburn. I think a lot of kids just choose Alabama. I feel like in Ohio, you choose the Buckeyes, and if not, you're the black sheep of the family. We're talking
and you like Michigan or you like a Notre Dame or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, in southwestern Ohio, this is way back again, and I'd like to do this to you guys, but back in 1981, Notre Dame, can you imagine this? They hired a high school coach from Cincinnati to be the head coach and replace Eric Parsegan. Can you imagine that in this day and age?
Absolutely.
Jerry Faust was a head coach at Moeller High School in Cincinnati. Incredible tradition. And he went to Notre Dame as the head coach. That's how powerful that program was to the University of Notre Dame. Didn't work out very well.
How did you do? Yeah, I was going to say.
Didn't work out. They got to number 1 for a week, But yeah,
Wow.
so I grew up, a lot of kids in Southwestern Ohio. We used to get Notre Dame highlights on Sunday morning. They condensed the game down to an hour
Wow.
with Lindsey Nelson and Paul Horning.
That's awesome.
And you get up and you watch Notre Dame highlights. So,
great.
you know, I was that kid.
Yep, I love it. Roger Wallace from KXAN, our affiliate there in Austin. Appreciate it, sir. We will catch up with you next week as we gear up for week 1 of the college football season. Thank you, sir, and enjoy your afternoon.
Yeah, it'll be game week, guys. Looking forward to it.
Cannot wait. All right, guys.
Awesome.
Good stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on Southeast Sports Plus. Welcome back in Southeast Sports Plus. It's been a really quick hour. Really appreciate Auburn head football coach Hugh coming on, joining the show to talk all things fall camp. That was really great insight there from Coach. And then Roger Wallace, our good friend there in Austin, Texas, talking about the Longhorns. We have plenty more ahead in the next hour. Coming up, we are going to hear from Senior Bowl Executive Director Drew Fabianich. They have a watch list of their 300 guys that they have their eye on for 2026. We'll have that and more coming up. Stay with us.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
Welcome back in Southeast Sports Plus. It's Simone Eli, Gerhard, Patrick Walsh, joining you for hour 2 here on the show. Been a fun and fast hour, Gerhard, as we've already had a chance to speak with Auburn head football coach Hugh about fall camp. That was really, really good stuff there from Coach. We're going to have more on that here in just a little while. And I felt like, one thing about Coach Freeze is that a lot of people are a little critical of how he is maybe during press conferences,
right.
But when you get him in a setting, with people he's comfortable with, people he's just has conversations with, he's a little bit more personable and pulls the curtain back a little bit.
It's one of the reasons why he's such a great recruiter, because he can recruit and talk to the non-football person. Sure. He can recruit and talk to media people. He can talk friends.
Yeah,
and then at the same time, he can talk to his team and be able to get the dynamic and the respect of his team and some of the game plans and things that he wants from a day-to-day perspective as well. So just being able to shift gears like that, I think is a really special talent.
Yeah, no question. So we will have more from that interview. We'll replay a little bit of that coming up. Coach Freeze kind of mentioned what's going on with the Antonio Coleman suspension. Of course, the former Saraland star here. We will have the latest on the fall camp for the Tigers, where we're at right now as they prepare for Baylor, which will be a Friday night kickoff. But before we get to all of that, we are so excited to welcome in a good friend of News 5 here in Mobile, but also of Southeast Sports Plus, Mr. Drew Fabianich, who is joining us from the Senior Bowl headquarters. Drew, the brand new executive director of the Premier All-Star Game, the Panini Senior Bowl that is too. Drew, a lot of exciting things right now happening there. We're excited to have you on the show. How are things going this afternoon, sir?
Good. We're like you said, we're preparing for our Senior Bowl Top 300. It's coming out on Wednesday, so we're way ahead of schedule from where we were last year. I was told. So all the boxes have gone out. All the boxes have been received. So we're kind of ready to go.
Yeah, speaking of boxes, by the way, we got ours from Panini.
That's right.
Of course, the partnership with the Senior Bowl. Very, very cool. I have it in my office. The kind of the card. I'm just waiting for the card that we made at the announcement, a picture of me. I would like that to be printed. I would like it in the studio somewhere, because that is really, really cool. I love the Panini partnership. How has it been going with the kind of the newness and the excitement with that?
Well, I think it's a great fit. We talked about this before, and I think that they're going to have a booth that they can actually manufacture those cards within 10 minutes. So you'll be able to get that done. At the Manning Academy, they had it set up, and they said they can turn it in 10 minutes.
Listen, wow. That's customer service. If I've ever heard of it.
So I think that's big.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a portable studio. So yeah, they're way ahead of the game, and they're excited about it. We're excited about it too. And they've been a great partnership so far, and I just think it's going to be a great synergy between us. I really do.
I really agree with that as well, and they were a great host when they made the official announcement a couple of months back. Let's talk a little bit about this watch list. I know that there's some things you want to keep under the rug as far as individual players go, but we saw you in Atlanta, their SEC Media Days, talking to guys. What's that been like, being able to tell them about the Senior Bowl, about the changes, and some of the things that will remain the same?
Well, and again, you kind of said it before, it is the premier all-star game, always has been, always will be. The thing about this is we wanted to make an exclusive. And when you put 800 to 1,000 names out there as, quote, a watch list, I think it waters down the process, and I think it waters down the interest of this. So that's why we made this just a top 300, to where, we feel that, hey, guess what? This is a select, and it's also an exclusive. You ought to feel that this is very an incredibly big deal to be actually just on our top 300. Not going to even call it the watch list. And this doesn't mean that somebody outside of the watch list can't play their way into the game or play their way into an invite. This is just what we've broken down so far off of last year's tape. And that process started even before I got here. As soon as that game was over with last year, Jack Gilmore and the scouting assistants, Michael Newsom and Jackson Roby started, evaluating players even before I got here. And when I got here, there was already 200 names on the board. Wow. Now there's close to 600, and we've narrowed it down to 300, again, to make this feel exclusive. Yep. And I think it will be that way now.
I want to ask, I know that we're not going to unveil the top 300 early, and those are going to come out on Wednesday. But Drew, when it comes to what the breakdown is as far as position, is this like is it a depth chart, so to speak? Is this is the top 300 in totality? Just doesn't regardless of position. What does that look like?
It's regardless of position,
okay.
And it's the highest grade to the lowest grade, and that's how we broke it down. And it just so happens to be where, there's 86 schools actually represented. There's 109 players from the SEC, 65 from the Big Ten, 56 from the ACC, and 48, from the Big 12. And Power 5 has a total of 19 players, and FCS has 5. So, to me, I think that kind of shows you where the players are and the premier conferences and how, that even affects the draft every single year. Now, most of them come from the SEC and the Big Ten, and the ACC is a close third to those two. So that kind of gives you the breakdown. And again, there's 18 quarterbacks that are in the top 5 rounds. There's 27 receivers in the top 5 rounds. We're a little short at linebacker and a little bit short at safety, where I feel comfortable with. And I think that kind of tells you where people want to play the game now. Yeah. And there's not a lot of people that want to sit there and go, hey, I want to be Dick Butkus, or I want to be, Mike Singletary, because they don't even remember what a linebacker was. Because this game's played in space. Yeah. So who's the most important guys? Skill guys. But it all comes back to the offensive defensive linemen too, which I feel really comfortable about those two groups also.
Yeah, more than a third of the top 300 coming from the Southeastern Conference. As we know, that doesn't really shock, I think, anybody on the show right now, but what does that say about the strength of this conference? Now 16 teams strong. You think about the Texases, the Alabamas, teams that are ranked in the top 25. It's like half of the conference is ranked top 25. LSU to boot. I want to ignore the folks over there in Louisiana, but several teams ranked in the top 25 going into the season. And of course, your rankings in terms of the top 300 kind of show off that, hey, yeah, this is going to be a really, really tough conference yet again.
Oh yeah, and the thing is I didn't even get into it. There are 5 schools that have 10 players or more, and LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, Oklahoma are one of them. And the 5th is actually Penn State. So that tells you exactly where the strength of, the conference is. And there's, I'm not saying that Texas isn't there and, some of the other schools aren't there, because I'm just saying that 10 or more,
Yeah.
That's big. When you can put it this way, when you have at least 11 to 12 draftable players on your roster each year, you should compete for the playoffs.
No question. Coach, you talked about how the evaluation starts, from last year, even before you got to the Senior Bowl offices. Praise your scouts a little bit and just the way that they were able to balance, obviously breaking down film for the 2025 game, but also having to look ahead a little bit to the 2026 game and understanding some of the guys that might be coming out this upcoming year.
Well, yeah, and we'll put it this way. We've actually had some, we do have 54 underclassmen on there, and I tried to restrict that to they've got to be in the top 3 rounds for us to be actually put them on the list. Because, again, I don't want to influence, young men to leave school early if they're not first 3 round players. Sure. If you're a 5th round player, you need to stay in school. You need to actually improve your draft stock. You're a 4th round, you need to stay in school and improve your draft stock. So I don't want to push that on to head coaches, and I want head coaches to get upset with us, because we're highlighting guys. The only one we're highlighting are the ones that I think are in the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, Drew, a minute ago we saw some video of Kalen DeBoer, as we know, going into year 2. He's done a really nice job of recruiting his own roster, which nowadays we know is how difficult that is to just keep guys and maintain guys. I know that you had the chance to see Coach and several coaches in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. What was that experience like? I feel like it was like you passed by like a ship in the night. It was like, over here, here's Drew. Okay, wait, he's on the set now, and now he's over here. You were with everybody. I think we even had a video of who was it?
It was you and Jackson Arnold. Y'all were passing one another, and then y'all did a little fake
like a shimmy. It was great.
Yeah, it was great. It was great stuff.
Well, put it this way. I know that their demands on their time is huge at the SEC Media Day. And, and I was just trying to catch them when there was actually just a spare minute, because really all it was an introduction. And, and everybody that I went to player-wise, I kept saying, what's the Senior Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. And 50% of them would say best against the best. And I went, well, I guess what? They've sold this pretty well, and the brand has actually been sold already. Mm-hmm. So at least half of them understood that. Then I had a little bit of a mailer to give to each one to show them the value, what it is to play in the game. And like Gruden says, where players come to play. I mean, that's the biggest thing. But it was kind of a zoo, and it was kind of a circus. I mean, I had every media request that was asked. I hit as many players and coaches as I could. The ACC was a little bit tamer. And I got to see every single head coach, and I got to see every single player that was brought to ACC Media Day. Now, I can't say that about it. Pardon?
Including Bill Belichick?
Yes.
How was that? What was that experience? And listen, you spent some time in the NFL too, so I was several years in the NFL. So you have that.
That was easy because we've met before.
Yeah.
That really was. So that wasn't that big of a deal. Again, I can't say that about the SEC because it was a zoo, and you guys know it was.
It is.
I mean,
it just
there was media requests left and right. So I was just taking every opportunity to actually tell people exactly how valuable the Senior Bowl is and how valuable it is to practice and play in the game.
Right.
And Drew, the Senior Bowl is also just very valuable to us locally, of course. The partnership that we have at News 5 in Mobile with the Premier All-Star Game, also in Mobile. I know that our good friend Jim Nagy, the former executive director, now the general manager there in Oklahoma, did a lot of incredible positive things to move this game forward. And in your short time, you're already doing incredible positive things to get to move this game forward. And I know there's been some restructure with staffing. I know that there's been the new partnership with Panini, just a lot of exciting times. What is your primary focus on right now as you move forward, getting into the regular season for college football, recruiting season for you, and figuring out what the game looks like come February?
Well, I think the first thing is to make sure that I get the right 145 players in the game. The other part of it is that I changed the schedule, and I told you all this before. I wanted to make this more about the player than about anything else, because the players are going to be the biggest salespeople that you have, especially the ones that are going back to campus almost every single spring or summer, to spend time with their teammates. See, I want them to walk back and say, hey, Senior Bowl is an incredible experience. It's very valuable to your career. And just like you all saw at the Hall of Fame, every single person that sat up, and was inducted into the Hall of Fame, they all had, enormous praise for what, the Senior Bowl is and what it has become and what it always will be. So, right now, I mean, I'm going to actually send something out to every single agent that's had a player in the game for the last 3 years that actually highlights how important it is to play in the game. And that's through video clips of, the Hall of Famers that got inducted into the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame.
For sure. We just got a chance to see Jackson Dart there in that video, and he is lighting it up right now. I know it's preseason football, but do you go back to some of the Senior Bowl alumni, whether it's guys here recently or over the course of the last few years? Saw Jason Taylor in that video as well, who played a long time in the NFL, was a Hall of Fame career. Do you go back to some of those guys like Jackson and others who have got off to a really good start in the NFL and use that as a recruiting tool and a recruiting pitch to, hey, guys, you can get your start here as well here in Mobile?
No, absolutely. And again, it goes back to, Gray Zabel. As I stated before, he came in with a high third-round grade, by the league. And by the time his, practice and his performance in the game, he ends up going 18th. And, that's $12.7 million difference in a 4-year contract. So again, I don't think Jackson Dart was rated in the first round, when he got here. And, when you perform against the best, your value increases. And that's bottom line. Every coach wants to see you play against the best competition. And again, when you do, I mean, because again, these people, the players that you bring to this game should all be draftable players.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to try to do. And if 80% of them are drafted, I mean, because they're going to lose some, but just by attrition, you're going to lose some just by playoffs. But if you can get 80% of the players drafted in this game, I think that's huge. So again, you're playing against the best.
Yeah, I'm chatting with Drew Fabianich, the new executive director of the Senior Bowl. It feels like you're already so ingrained in this game, the fabric of this game, the 251 Mobile and Gulf Coast. How have you been enjoying things personally, just for you, since taking on the position? What have you enjoyed the most? What has maybe been surprising to you? Where do you hope to grow? Have you gotten any time to sleep or do anything for yourself?
No, not really. Really didn't have time. I mean, it was a whirlwind, and by the time we went up to West Virginia and got everything, and moved into our new house. I mean, we've been working on that since the day we moved in.
Yeah.
We're still doing a lot of renovations. Great neighborhood, living in Midtown, and older homes are beautiful, but older homes got a little bit of work to do.
All right. So what's the primary thing you're working on? Cabinets? Are we talking
No, we got to. No, water damage on the outside,
Okay.
windows and doors coming up here soon.
Yeah, water damage.
And there are no joke how big the windows and doors are. So we've got a window company coming out tomorrow, matter of fact.
Yeah,
so we're worried about that. We hadn't really taken any time off just because I didn't feel comfortable yet. Once I feel comfortable where the bubbles are, where I can take some time, I will.
Yep.
But I felt behind since the day I walked in the door. We're finally fully staffed. And again, we put together scouts on the road. The scouts that are in-house, the scouting assistants, and the director of football operations, Jack Gilmore, we're finally where I feel we need to be. And those scouts will be out on the road first week, and some of them I know quite well, some of them I don't. But again, we're going to get to know each other quite well.
Yeah, for you, Drew, I know that it's a lot of just delegating, of planning, of saying, hey, okay, we're going to put these pieces here, these pieces here. When will you go on the road? Are there any games specifically that you have circled this season for you, or is this more? Are you kind of having to just kind of keep the pieces of the puzzle together?
Well, what I'm going to do is, and again, this goes back to me being an on-the-road scout for 18 straight years. A game to me is not a good use of my time.
Yep.
And I'm going to go out probably like Wednesdays and Thursdays if I'm going to go visit any university. And I'm going to be back because I can get more out of watching 4 games at one time, on YouTube TV.
Oh, yeah.
And, 3 times a day, well, there's 12 games that I can watch right there. And when you go to a game, whether it's Clemson, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Alabama, you spend an entire day in travel, parking, getting into the game, the pregame. You got to leave before the game's over.
Yep.
And by the time you're done, you spend over 12 hours. And do I really get a lot out of a game? I would rather watch tape if I'm going to evaluate more than like a quarter. I used to always go for a quarterback or a corner. Other than that, I was body typing players where I couldn't get to the school. I was watching pregame. But to me, it's better for me to actually be that couch potato and actually have a notepad ready to go and work all the flashes that I can find. Plus, then I'm going to go back and watch more. If there's a flash, I'm going to go back and watch more.
Yep.
And I'm not penciling any game in because I don't plan on I may go to like Tulane, South Alabama, right? Because I'm very good. I'm very good friends with both the head coaches, and I want them both to be successful. But I think that I think that would be a nice thing for me to do, especially locally for Coach Applewhite.
Yep. No question.
Yeah, no question. We got a great chance to go to your scout school earlier this year, and it was an awesome opportunity to watch you talk to scouts about what to look for. And there were so many details that I just picked up through osmosis of just being able to hear what they need to watch out for and what they need to write in reports and whatnot. How much of your job is being able to coach your scouts to find out, hey, this is what we need to evaluate to bring the best guys to Mobile?
Well, a lot of these guys that I brought in that are going to be out on the road and watching tape they do have some experience, and a lot of them have NFL experience or they've got college experience. Now it's got to be is how you want to structure a report, how you want to put that together. But the biggest thing is in-house. When the scouting assistants reminded me about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Jackson Roby came to me. He said, "Hey," he says, "You've watched a lot of guys." I said, "Yeah. As a matter of fact, I've watched about probably 30 in the last week." He said, "Well, would you mind if we come in and watch with you?" And I was like, "Absolutely." For every time now, I just say, "Hey, I'm looking at such and such. Have you seen him?" And they'll go, "No." I said, "Well, come on in, and we'll review why I'm talking about a player in a certain way." why he belongs as a starter, where he belongs as a backup, or whether he's a role player, where the team's value, what's a body type that brings value to him as a team's player. I mean, little things like that, again, I've learned through coaching and through, being in personnel as long as I have. Well, I took it for granted that, yeah, they know the traits of a player, but they may not know the whys of why I'm actually, putting a player where I'm putting them. So I think I answered the question. Did I, Gerhard? I mean,
yeah, that was great.
Drew, listen, I don't know what it would feel like. I don't know what it feels like to be, the person that has like the college football playoff before the playoff comes out, like the graphics guy. But I do have the Senior Bowl top 300 before it comes out, and so I do feel like I kind of have like some exclusive information. But Molly Middleton, your amazing public relations person there, has put confidential in very big bold letters. So I'm not gonna say anything. But will you give us any tidbit information before you go, outside of what we know now, maybe some of the breakdown? We know the SEC has 109 players. Anybody that's like a sleeper pick that you want to tell us about, or anybody that is sticks out to you? He's like
He's
listen, you aren't saying nothing.
Nope.
Then I guess I will have to request that you come back on the program on Wednesday, so that we can break this down by conference, by position, talk about some of your sleeper picks and things like that, and how your scouts kind of went to work when it comes to this list.
Well, and put it this way, that's fine. I don't want to do anything beforehand.
Yeah.
Sure. I already gave you a little bit when I said there's 18 quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, and think about that. How many are actually going to be in the playoffs? You have to look at that too.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
And there's some that I left off because I think there's a reason why some should be left off. And again, that's my prerogative. And I think that some should be, I think that some are, how would I put this? Some that may have been put out there too early with not a lot of experience.
Okay.
And I think that sometimes you have to show that you can play, other than maybe 2 to 3 games in your career.
Wow. Okay, you know what?
Okay.
You know what, Mr. Drew, what we call that in television is a very good tease. And so you could do well on our side of the business. Obviously, you're holding it down pretty great over there with the Senior Bowl executive director. I know you've been a few months there under your belt, but we really appreciate your time, sir. We will ask you to come back on the program on Wednesday as the list is officially released, and looking forward to that information and to see who's on and who's off and why.
Okay.
All right.
Appreciate y'all.
Good stuff. All right. Drew Fabianich.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Drew Fabianich, the executive director of the Senior Bowl, the Panini Senior Bowl. And one thing I've not really forgotten, but it kind of falls by the wayside, is, of course, the Reese's was the longtime presenting sponsor of the Senior Bowl. Now it's Panini, but this is not a new partnership with Panini.
Correct.
If you look at the practice, practice video, you see Panini on the banners because they, of course, sponsored practices.
Right. So if you were going to the Senior Bowl practices, you saw Panini everywhere because it was on like you said, the practice jerseys and everything else. So, and they had such a great hand in being able to create these special moments. You brought up the trading cards, and Drew right there brought
special
up
moment for us.
Exactly our special moment, but then also players will get that special moment as well.
Yeah.
But yes, you saw Panini everywhere, and now they are the official sponsor. And then if you look at the logo, I really like what they've done with the logo with Panini on there. It looks like the NFL shield for those who haven't seen it.
It's beautiful.
It looks unbelievable.
It's a little throwbacky too.
Yeah,
it's throwbacky. Yeah,
and I can't wait
sharp.
to see that. I can't wait to see that on the helmet. We've seen it on the jerseys.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see it on the helmet.
Yeah.
And it'll bring another little wrinkle, in my opinion, for these players to come to Mobile and to enjoy that experience.
Yeah.
Have that trading card. Have it there available for you. Be able to get one with your brother or your sister or your mom or your agent or whoever's down here. You one with yourself, exactly. So I think it's special.
I can't wait to see that logo on our set for our weekly high school football show, which, of course, here in Mobile debuts on Friday. That's the first week of the high school football season. Was he talking about Manning?
You could deduce a lot. There was a few that you were like.
He said 2 to 3 games.
Yeah.
He said I'm just saying what he said.
Yeah.
I'm saying what he said.
Right.
He said, but you can't put somebody on something and they've only played 2, 3. Now, this is a guy who a lot of people are saying is going to be back.
For sure. His grandfather said that.
Grandpa talks in that family. I feel like good people listen.
Yeah.
But money talks too. Although there's plenty of it there in Texas.
It certainly is. And there's a lot of guys that are like, hey, have you done enough to prove yourself?
Yep.
I mean, he could be talking about Ty Simpson. I mean, Ty Simpson's only played in a handful of games as well. So who knows?
All I know is I have the
knows?
list and I can't say nothing about nothing. So that's what I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it that. That was just my opinion.
I don't have the list,
and
by
we
the way.
will see. You do have the
Do
list.
I have the
You
list?
actually
Okay.
do have the
I
list.
have-
You just don't know you have the
I
list.
haven't seen it.
Molly put you first on the list of people that got sent this. Patrick has it as well. But Patrick's going to be like the graphics guy for the college football playoff where, you can't, you have the information, but you can't put it out. That was one thing that I was saying.
Secret.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, what I didn't realize was that I was preparing for this segment, and I was like, oh, yeah, let's break down the list of players. Have them on and Patrick's like, oh, yeah, Molly doesn't want that out. I'm like, then why is she sending it? Why do we have this if we can't talk about
It's
it?
to be on the lookout. It's to put on your X feed or on your Instagram feed.
Yes.
To put the notifications on. That way you have it when it comes out.
Patrick, I mean, you didn't even try to influence anybody before this program. If we could actually talk about some players' names.
Hey, I don't want to rub anybody the wrong way. You know?
You're right. You're right. He's
You
the
don't
new
wanna-
guy.
And
But
he
we
was a
could,
vault, though,
we can
too.
throw him in. Listen, I tried. He
was a
started
vault.
shaking his head just like Roger Wallace when I tried to get information. But Hugh Freeze, he tells us anything. You know what? So it's fine. You know what? I'll take those odds. That's one out of 3.
It's a give and take.
It's 1 out of 4 if you include my husband. All right, guys. Listen, plenty more to come here on Southeast Sports Plus. Simone, Gerhard, Patrick. We will rejoin you in a moment as we are talking the Tennessee Volunteers. They have a new QB1. They've finally announced who is going to lead that Josh Heupel offense. That and plenty more in just a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back in Southeast Sports Plus. Simone, Gerhard, Patrick, back here for the last 30 minutes of the show. Really great show so far. Earlier today, in our 2 o'clock hour, we had the chance to speak with Auburn head football coach Hugh Freeze. We'll have that interview coming up. One of the things that we did ask him about was the information that came out after today's post-practice press conference, which was that freshman defensive lineman Antonio Coleman is suspended indefinitely. This is a video of Antonio Coleman playing at Saraland High School last season, a dominant force at D-line. You can tell, obviously, a guy who's very confident and a very big force there, went to Auburn, and he is now suspended indefinitely, G.
Yeah, 4-star prospect, and you hate to hear it, but one of the things that Coach Freeze alluded to was, you know, these guys are young, yes, but they also need to learn the lessons of adulthood.
And he's right, yeah.
And I think he's 100% right. And this can be a learning situation here for Antonio and being able to get back on track here. But a lot of times that transition from high school to college is difficult.
It's a lot.
Some learn it, some get it a little faster than others. And then you hope it's just a wake-up call to, hey, you got to get, you have to get your priorities right, and you have to have, awareness of consequences this young. Hopefully this will do it there from Mr. Williams.
When we asked Coach Freeze about the situation, I want to note that the first thing that he said was, I love my team.
Yeah.
That was the first thing out of his mouth. And I think that speaks to just the type of coach that he is, which is very similar to Nick Saban. Those are, the two of them are good friends. They're forgiving, so to speak. They know that guys make mistakes. They're 18 to 22-year-olds. They need another opportunity, and so he said that guys can play their way, can earn their way back, from not being suspended and being in a better situation. And so but hey, right now this is a business. It's always been business-like, but right now this is literally a business. They are, guys are getting paid. You're held to a standard and an expectation. So right now, Antonio Coleman, the defensive lineman out of Saraland, who just signed with Auburn. He was there at I think he went in early in January, was a 2-time All-State selection for Jeff Kelly, helped lead Saraland to the state championship game, to a state championship title a few years ago as well. He is suspended indefinitely for a violation of team rules. And so we have that information there from Coach Freeze. Meanwhile, taking a trip up to Knoxville, the latest, we have been waiting for this announcement, and we finally have our answer as we're going to bring in our good friend Sam Rothman joining us at very last notice. Sam, I just texted you a minute ago. I said, hey, can you jump on the show really quick and tell us what's going on in Knoxville? So we appreciate you. Look at you answering the call. Yes. You're the best. Tell us what Josh Heupel has decided as Tennessee gears up for Week 1.
Yeah, we love a Sunday night news dump at around 9:30. We found out Tennessee tweeting a great photo of Joey Aguilar, who has been named the starting quarterback, with the back of his jersey, the VOLS, very scenic. But yes, I mean, it was only a matter of time before this was the decision. We all kind of knew that this was the way it was going to go, but I think it was the right timing for two reasons. It was the right timing because he said it was going to be a quarterback competition, and it wouldn't have been fair to the other guys, Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre, for not giving them a chance to show what they can do as well. And that was perfect timing. A couple of weeks to training camp. Now you also have a couple of weeks to the start of the season. So announcing it now, kind of the best of both worlds. Joey can get all of the reps as QB1 with 2 weeks left until that opening game against Syracuse, and it's mock game week this week. So I think it was just good timing. Again, we all knew this is where this was headed, but now it is official.
I did not realize that it came in way of a like a scenic tweet, and with kind of crypto, not really cryptic at the helm.
So yeah,
what is this? Do they want to beat someone else from breaking it? Like they don't want Sam Rothman to steal their thunder and put it out, or what? Like
so there were a couple of people who had broke it, kind of rumors, and then I think they confirmed it with the photo that was there, taking charge of the situation.
Yeah.
This felt a lot to me like Alabama. Literally 1 week ago, we were sitting here in this show, and it seemed like the entire time it felt like we were just delaying the inevitable, that Ty Simpson was going to be named the Alabama starting quarterback. And it felt like this kind of ran a similar storyline, that Joey Aguilar was the guy, but he did want to give the other two guys a shot. Now that he is QB1, how do you feel like this team will be different as far as what they're game planning for Syracuse, obviously, but then also just the overall vibe of the team, knowing who their guy is leading that charge?
I really don't think it changes the game plan at all. Even with Nico last year, everyone says Coach Heupel, likes to sling it, likes the high-powered offense. He does, but it comes on the ground. So I still think that Tennessee is going to rely on the ground game. Yes, is Joey going to, have a couple of touchdowns in the air? Of course. Is he going to want to throw the ball? Of course. That is something that he has talked about before. But I do think that doesn't really change anything. I think that Tennessee's offense is going to rely on the ground game. But in terms of the teammates, they probably knew that this is where this was headed as well. But talking to all the guys, they've really embraced Joey, and I think he's earned that trust. He showed up on campus with not much time to get to know the players, learn the playbook, learn the installs and all that, but he took his offensive linemen out to dinner, his wide receivers out to dinner, defense out to dinner, scheduled all these different outings.
Food
they
wins
had
a lot of people
days.
over. I mean,
yeah,
I can speak to that. I can speak to that.
He's getting that NIL money. He might as well use it for a good cause, right?
Yeah, listen, that's what I tell Gerhard all the time. Is you use your NIL money and buy me Chipotle, big dog. Like, let's go. So
it does work.
Listen, food is the way to people's heart. And yes, Josh Heupel. I think the quote is that Joey Aguilar is extremely comfortable in what we're doing right now. This is a guy who's put up some big numbers in college football so far. So Sam Rothman, you guys were right on track when you said this is probably his job to lose, even though he is a newer face of the program.
Yeah, it was his job to lose the entire time. I think that he missed spring practice, and instead of just saying, I'll pick up in the fall, he did all the installs back at home. He did it in 4 days and was up to speed. Yeah. He talked about how he was locked out of the training center over the summer because he was there so early he couldn't get in. He was getting there at 7 a.m., leaving at 9 o'clock at night. Even though it was his job to lose, he proved that he wanted this job and he put in the work for the job, and I think he's been rewarded with the job.
Sam, wonderful reporting and really great insight there. We really appreciate your time. Really appreciate you just coming on and kind of answering the call, ma'am. Thank you so much
Thanks
for the
for having me on.
We will definitely have you back on next week as we gear up for that week 1 game in Atlanta, the Syracuse Orange, whatever that is, Patrick, up against.
Hey, I'm a Syracuse alum. What does that mean?
Oh,
So
Patrick said, hold on, let me pull out the 4 shot so I can argue about my Syracuse Orange right
Don't
quick.
let her bully the Syracuse Orange.
What's going on?
It's unbelievable.
Sam, we have not had this shot in 2 weeks. We've never had this shot. And I take one I say one thing about the Syracuse Orange, and Patrick says, give me that 4 shot.
Well, and ironically, Sam's an alum. I didn't know that.
I love that I made this happen. Yes, I am an alum, and I'm rooting for the team in orange. So
I think we said a couple times that Mercedes-Benz Stadium is going to be pretty orange.
So you're an alum of Syracuse.
I am.
Great
journalism.
Great journalism. I was going to say that's what they're known for. So I mean, no wonder you're so great at your job, but also just because you have a great person, great personality. So. Good stuff, man. Well, we cannot. So you're gonna be there, right? Obviously, you'll be.
I will be there. Good. I will be there.
Hopefully, you get to stay the night this time. You're not driving to Atlanta and back in the same day.
We are staying the night Friday night, getting the full experience. So yeah, no back and forth.
Praise. Get yourself a steak, girl. Get yourself a steak.
Yeah, we're going out. We'll go out.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we appreciate it. Sam Rothman, great stuff. Thank you so much for the reporting. Thank you for the insight, and we will catch up with you next week when your alma mater goes up against the team that you cover every single day. So
it'll be fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Awesome. Great stuff, man. How about that? I think I texted her like 10 minutes ago. I'm going to tell you, if somebody texted me about some breaking news, I probably wouldn't have makeup on. I'd be wearing Lululemon in the station. Like, I would not be prepared, and here she is. She's just up and at it, ready to roll.
Just on it.
Really good reporting there. We're going to take a quick break, guys. Plenty more to come here on Southeast Sports Plus. We will have a little bit of a recap from Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze. What he had to say today on the show about his starting quarterback situation as Jackson Arnold looks to try to lead the Auburn Tigers to a bowl appearance. It's been a couple, at least one season. How many seasons?
2.
One too long, too long. All right, guys. We'll have more in a few minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back in Southeast Sports Plus, 3:43 Central Time on this Monday afternoon. The Auburn Tigers are, well, a week and some change, 2 weeks away, less than 2 weeks away.
Right.
I don't know how many days, maybe 10 days. I can't do that.
Well, today is Monday.
Today is the 18th.
But Hugh Freeze is Tuesday.
Yeah, according to Coach Freeze. That is, they're going up on a Tuesday because they play early this year on a Friday, the 29th. So we're 11 days away, by the way. I was close. 11 days away from Auburn kicking off the college football season against Baylor in Waco. We had a chance to have Coach Freeze on the show earlier, and we asked him about a scene at practice that I considered mild. He threw his visor due to maybe some miscommunication between he and Jackson Arnold, the quarterback there on the Plains. Let's take a listen to what Coach Freeze had to say a bit ago.
Heck, I've had some pretty good quarterbacks that put up good numbers, and I think all would say he's thrown his visor many times right at me. And so I think that's probably a good sign that they can handle it. And I definitely think Jackson is mature enough to know I'm for him. I'm in his corner. I believe in him strongly, and yet give me the freedom kind of to be myself too from time to time. And I try not to overdo that every now and then. And certainly I have to come in and first look at us as coaches to see, all right, tell me how we exactly coach this. And I do think that I have a gift to, like, if I'm wrong, I'll walk in front of the quarterback room or receiver room or entire team and say, hey, I was totally wrong. And I didn't, after watching film, we did not coach this properly, or I saw something differently than what the film does not lie. And so I think that gains a level of trust and transparency with Jackson or Deuce or Ashton or other positions that say, hey, the man's real. And I do that every Monday after games, really, with the truth is in the course of a game. Offensively, especially, you don't want to have a high percentage of plays that you called, and then you watch the film and schematically had zero chance of working.
So one thing that I really like from that is the kind of the humility in the approach that he has to discuss a game plan, to discuss the reality of a play call, of a plan, a scheme, and being able to say on the back end, I'm not always the keeper of the keys. I don't always have the right answer, because I think there are head coaches in this day and age that, at least always, not just this day and age, who feel like what I say goes, right, wrong, or indifferent. Coach Freeze is able to kind of take a couple steps back and say, we work together on trying to fix things in real time. Right.
I think that goes into the maturity standpoint from coaching, knowing that this game is so fluid and it's changed so much. The game that he coached when he got into coaching way back when in high school and those little high schools there in Tennessee to the game he's coaching now is completely different. Players also process things differently as well. So maybe a player processed something differently than Coach Freeze did, so he saw it differently when it played out on the field. And coaches, he says that, hey, so I have to get on them, and I will get on them. Sometimes throw a visor, sometimes do other things, but then also sometimes when I yell at you in practice and then to watch it back on film, knowing that the eye in the sky doesn't lie, hey, if it come back later on and say, hey, you were right, then you were right. I do think that, especially in this day and age, that really works well with players, thinking that they might have a little bit more contribution to the offense, and knowing, hey, my head coach is not going to just always be some dictator, that he does have my back and we can be both right in situations.
Yeah, I was watching our good friends in Birmingham there on the next round this morning, and Jim Dunaway, Ryan Brown, Lance Taylor do a great job. One thing that they made mention of, I think it was Ryan, he's always very observant of certain things and always opinionated, which is great, I think. And he mentioned that, hey, like Hugh Freeze throwing his visor is not a terrible thing. You go and you see like what was happening on the show that you and I have yet to watch on the Netflix series there on the Southeastern Conference. There were moments where, Coach Freeze was kind of like preacher-like. Like he's very rah-rah, and rah-rah doesn't always mean like W's. So I think that to see the passion, to see some, ticked offness is not necessarily a bad thing, was the point that they were making there on the show. And I agree. I think that that's one thing about coaches, that I think he's just a very realistic guy, and sometimes that might come off as pessimistic
Right.
or monotone.
Yeah.
And then he's on shows like Today, and he's a lot more exciting, and, just more personable. Of course, we've talked to him several times, but I think that it just shows that maybe there's more to that. And then you see the throwing of the visor, and I think that says, hey, okay, this is a guy who has high expectations for his roster, has high expectations for this team in year 3, and I don't think it's a terrible thing.
No, and even when he brought it up last Friday in practice, one of the things he said after he had the initial laugh of being able of throwing the visor, and as you said, I mean, to me that was a very tame thing. For you, it was tame as well. But another thing he said was, hey, we have an expectation and a standard. When we draw it up, we want it to be executed. And so I think that there's a part of him that understands, hey, if we mess these things up in practice and we don't fix them here, this is not going to work in Waco.
Yeah.
This is not going to work in Fayetteville or all their road games.
Yep.
They know that this is their opportunity to clean these things up right now. And just like as Ryan said, to add that fire and that passion, I think works well with also the attaboys, slap on the backs, and some of the more jovial responses that you typically get, the more happy responses. And I think that blend is where you find the mix, and that's where you find the W's.
Yeah, I mean, football's a violent game, and sometimes it has to be coached in a strong way.
Yeah.
I mean, I played women's basketball, and it was coached in a strong way.
Yeah. I mean,
we're in television. I feel like I coach in a strong way. I mean, I don't know. Patrick's eyes just now. I'm not really sure what that look was.
I'm getting flashbacks from, varsity baseball. Just sitting there. Sitting there on the bench because you did something bad.
Listen, sometimes you got to be direct and authoritative, and so long as you can all love each other after the fact, then that's all that matters. So, speaking of love each other after the fact, I'm going to go to break because I want plenty of time for Patrick to tell us how his round went this weekend. The important stuff. Forget the Southeastern Conference, Patrick. We're going to hit a break because we want to see what the scorecard looks like. Did he make the green on the 17th hole? We will find out in 2.5 minutes. Stay with us. Welcome back into Southeast Sports Plus. Patrick, gonna just take some video off the top here.
Oh, no.
Patrick, do we have malfunction? We have a malfunction. Bring us back on the. Can you bring us back?
Uh-oh, no.
No. This show's trying to keep us from being great right now.
It really is.
Oh, Patrick. Oh,
maybe.
no. Did this is what happens when we try to show off Patrick's golf skills. It said, hold on. Okay. Listen, if we're gone for a second, nobody panic. We'll be right back. Go ahead and sign us out and bring us back in, Patrick. See if that'll work for us.